We left off our video at line 33 of Act 1, Scene 1 of Othello, and we're picking up now at the second half of line 33. Remember that Rodrigo and Iago were talking about someone they dislike. They haven't yet named the person. Iago tells us that that person promoted Cassio to lieutenant when Iago wanted to be promoted to lieutenant, so he's angry at him for that. At line 33, he says, this countercaster, referring to Cassio, the bookkeeper, who he called bookish and a mere theorist, who got the promotion to lieutenant, he in good time must his, Othello's, lieutenant be. And I, God bless the mark, his morship's ancient. And we learn here that the person that they're talking about, whom they dislike, is his morship. The title of this play is Othello, Moor of Venice, so we can surmise that his morship is Othello. Notice the derogatory use here. Instead of using Othello's name, they're depersonalizing him, reducing him to the Moor, who is identified by his race and religion. A Moor would be a dark-skinned Muslim. We will learn later that Othello was taken slave in Africa when he was 7 and forced to be a child soldier, worked his way up through the ranks, converted from Islam to Christianity, and has become a general leading the Venetian army. He's been very successful, but this is the man that Cassio is referring to as his morship, very sarcastically. His morship is a joke, as he's making a joke out of it, like his worship or his mastership, calling him his morship. And he's telling us that whereas Cassio got the position of lieutenant, Iago will have to be an ancient, which is a lower position, not the one that Iago wanted. Rodrigo responds, by heaven, I would rather have been his hangman. So Rodrigo's echoing him, oh, I would rather hang Othello than work for him. Iago responds, why, there's no remedy, there's nothing we can do about it. 'Tis the curse of service. Any one of us who have worked a service job know what he's talking about. 'Tis the curse of working in service, in his case being a servant working with Othello. The curse of service is putting up with customers and managers that are difficult or demanding and not getting that promotion that you want. Iago goes on to explain that nowadays preferment goes by letter and affection. That is, by letters of reference and affection, people liking you. In other words, what we would say is by networking. Instead of, he says, by old gradation, where each second stood heir to the first. And there's two possibilities here, but notice the language that he's using is aristocratic, as in heirs to inherit. He's suggesting here that the old gradation or the old degrees were when people inherited their positions of privilege from one another, or also potentially a position of seniority would give you the next in line for that higher position, instead of this new by letter and affection networking where the youngsters can come up like upstarts, he's saying, whereas he, the old-timer who deserved it, didn't get the lieutenant position. Now, sir, Iago says, be judge yourself whether I, in any just term, am affined to love the more. Judge, Rodrigo, he says, whether I am affianced or should in any way love Othello, who he's calling the Moor once more. Notice Rodrigo echoes. Remember I said he wasn't the brightest bulb here. He echoes and follows Iago. He's not taking a lot of initiative. He's just echoing and agreeing with whatever Iago says. Oh, I would not follow him then. Well, sir, oh, sir, content you, be content. I follow Othello, Iago says, to serve my turn upon him, to serve my own will on him. We cannot all be masters. We can't all be in charge, he says, but nor all masters cannot be truly followed. nor is it the case that all people supposedly in charge can really have people who are truly following them and doing what's best for them. You shall mark many a duteous and knee-crooking knave. So you'll notice he says many a duteous, and knee-crooking knave. Notice that use of that term like off-capped here. The knee-crooking knave, he's creating a compound word that implies a knave, that would be a man, not necessarily of good character, is a knee-crooking knave. He's bending his knee, he's getting on his knees or bowing. Also a nice use of knee, crooking, knave, repetition, alliteration here. Doting on his own obsequious bondage, wears out his time, much like his master's ass, for naught but provender. So these duty-filled and bending knaves who love their own obsequious bondage, servanthood, wear out their time. They waste their time much like their master's ass, his donkey, for naught but provender, for nothing but hay or food. There was also here a pun on his master's ass, sexual, suggestion that the servant wears out his literal master's ass, his butt, and I will leave that to your imagination. So he wears out his master's ass for naught but provender, and when he's old and cashiered, that is let go like a soldier, but also when he's worn out, he has nothing left except for that food that he's been fed. He gains nothing. Whip me such honest knaves. So these honest people who truly do their duty and bend their knee to their masters ought to be whipped, Iago says. Others there are, this would be Iago, who trimmed and forms and visages of duty, who are trimmed or dressed in the appearances and the masks, visages of face of duty, keep yet their hearts attending on themselves. They keep their hearts for themselves, and they throw but shows of service on their lords. They appear to do service to their lord, while at the same time they do well thrive by them. They grow rich by them. And when they have lined their coats, do themselves homage. Suggestion here, lined their coats, the idea of hiding things in the lining of your coat, inside your coat. For example, money, as in embezzling or cheating your boss, taking things a little off the top here for yourself, so that you can make your own self rich and have others do homage or treat you like a master. These fellows have some soul, Iago says, these cheating fellows. And such a one do I profess myself. Notice that Iago frequently tells characters who he is, that he is dishonest, that he is looking out for himself, not you. Characters ought to listen, but they do not, and Rodrigo here does not. There's an interesting line. These two lines here has that suggestion that he's looking out for himself, but if he were them, he would be looking out against Iago. It is as sure, Iago says, as you are Rodrigo, that were I the Moor, if I were Othello, I wouldn't be Iago. If I were Othello, I wouldn't be looking out for Iago. I'd be looking out for Othello. If I were Othello, I would be an honest person, because Othello is honest. But he's not. He's Iago. He's dishonest, and he's looking out for himself only. And following him, Othello, I follow but myself. Heaven is my judge, and notice here the humor in referring to heaven as the place that will judge him as being truly dishonest, unlike those honest folks who deserve to be whipped. Not I, Iago, for love and duty, but for seeming so. So I'm not really all in favor of love and duty. I'm in favor of appearing to love, of appearing to do my duty. And I do that for my own peculiar end. I'm looking out for number one. And when my outward action doth demonstrate the native act and figure of my heart in compliment extern, 'tis not long after but I will wear my heart upon my sleeve for daws to peck at. He says, when my outward action, when what I do demonstrates the native act and figure of my heart, how I really feel, when my internal feelings are made external, it won't be long after, but I'll be putting my heart on my sleeve and letting crows peck it apart. In other words, it's never gonna happen. That's not me. I'm not that kind of honest knave. I am not what I am. And this is a very famous quote from Iago. Indeed, Iago remains a mystery. He is not what he seems to be, and we cannot tell what he truly is. He gives so many reasons for why he does what he does, conflicting reasons that none of them are plausible. In the end, it's difficult to tell what really drives Iago beyond mere chaotic evil or the desire to do damage to others and perhaps to advance himself. But he is never anything he seems to be and always something other. The next line is Rodrigo coming in also with his hatred of Othello, and this is one of the first of the truly offensive racial slurs in this play. Iago is going to whip Rodrigo and Brabantio up into a racist fury in Act 1, Scene 1, but Rodrigo begins here with, "What a full fortune does the thick lips owe, if he can carry it thus," referring to Othello, and what a full fortune, how much good fortune he's had. What a full fortune does the thick lips, referring obviously in a racist slur to him being black, owe to fortune if he can carry it thus. So this man, Othello, will have a great fortune if he can carry out all that he's wanting to carry out, given how much he's already accomplished. Iago has a good idea now, and Rodrigo, being the follower that he is, and perhaps not so bright, is going to go along with it. Iago says, "Let's call up Desdemona's father." Now, her father, Brabantio, is a senator, so angering him is a terrible idea, which is why Iago is going to get Rodrigo to call Brabantio up, not appearing to do it himself, because he's honest Iago, who's always on everyone's side, whereas Rodrigo can take the fall. "Call up her father, rouse him, make after him, poison his delight, proclaim him in the streets, incense her kinsmen, and though he in a fertile climate dwell, plague him with flies. Though that his joy be joy, yet throw such changes of vexation on it, as it may lose some color." So let's wake him up, poison everything that makes him happy, shout in the streets, anger her family, and even though it's as if her father Brabantio were sleeping in a warm, soft place, let's plague him as if with flies, so that none of his joy is joy. It all becomes vexation and loses color. Let's make him miserable. "Ooh, Rodrigo, here is her father's house. I'll call aloud." "Do," Iago says, with light timorous accent and dire yell, as when by night and negligence the fire is spied in populous cities. That's right, shout like there's a fire. It's the original of shouting fire in a crowded theater. Rodrigo shouts, "What ho, Brabantio, Signor Brabantio, ho!" Iago adds in his voice, "Awake! What ho, Brabantio, thieves, thieves, thieves! Look to your house, your daughter, and your bags." And he's referring to the fact that what Brabantio does not yet know is, and Iago does know, is that Othello and Desdemona have gotten married without Brabantio's permission, and Iago is now going to make Brabantio angry at that they ran off together and got married. We can guess that this is also the information at the very beginning of the act and scene that Rodrigo just found out and was angry about and accused Iago of knowing without telling him, because remember, Rodrigo thinks he's in love with Desdemona and that she will be with him, so he's very angry to learn that Othello is married to her. Brabantio wakes up. What is the reason of this terrible summons? What is the matter there? And here I'm going to end because this is line 90, and what will happen next is that Brabantio indeed will get as angry as Iago wants him to be.